Upon creating Adam and Eve in his likeness and situating them in the Garden of Eden, God imparted a single, clear instruction to them. You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die. Yet the serpent, with its cunning nature, persuaded Eve to reconsider. It convinced her that eating the fruit would not bring harm, but rather it would bestow upon her the knowledge of good and evil. The serpent's cunning plan triumphed. Adam and Eve, in a defining act of defiance, disregarded God's command and partook of the forbidden fruit. Eve, having been the first to yield to temptation, shared the fruit with Adam, who likewise indulged. This act of defiance against God's command led to the inception of sin among humanity. Their consequent expulsion from the Garden of Eden marked an irreversible shift in the narrative of biblical history. Many have come to accept the notion that the forbidden fruit consumed by Adam and Eve was an apple, a concept deeply entrenched in the conventional portrayal of this ancient narrative. In these traditions, the apple is frequently represented as the ultimate object of temptation. However, contrary to popular belief, the Holy Bible does not specifically identify the forbidden fruit as an apple. The mystery of the true identity of this forbidden fruit is as old as the narrative of the creation itself. This raises an intriguing question. If the forbidden fruit wasn't an apple, then what was it? Have there been any recent discoveries that could confirm the true nature of this infamous fruit? In the unfolding narrative of Genesis chapter 2, the Bible intriguingly leaves the exact nature of the forbidden fruit shrouded in mystery, never specifying its type. It appears we've mistakenly held the apple responsible for Adam and Eve's banishment without sufficient basis. The intriguing case of this fruit being mistaken for an apple might find its roots in a captivating linguistic twist from the Latin translation of the Bible. In 382 AD, Pope Damasus I in Rome appointed Jerome, a distinguished scholar, to translate the Bible into Latin. During this monumental project, Jerome translated the Hebrew word peri to the Latin term malum. In several instances, malum is interpreted as apple, a translation choice that has influenced various passages in the Bible. Additionally, the Romans might have also drawn inspiration from a similar tale in Greek mythology. In this Greek legend, a goddess gifts an apple tree, watched over by a serpent, to two Greek gods. These apples, however, are made of gold, posing a significant risk to any human who tries to eat them. Given God's warning to Adam that eating the forbidden fruit would lead to death, anyone familiar with Greek or Roman myths could easily draw parallels between the biblical account and the story of the golden apple tree. Over time, artistic representations of the Garden of Eden, particularly in paintings, have played a significant role in cementing the image of the apple as the iconic forbidden fruit. This notion further gained considerable traction after the publication of John Milton's renowned epic, Paradise Lost. This literary masterpiece vividly reimagines the Bible's archaic story, complete with iconic characters like God, Adam, Eve, and a conversational serpent representing Satan. Within its verses, Milton explicitly mentions the fruit as an apple twice, cementing its association in popular imagination. The exact nature of the forbidden fruit remains a topic of ongoing discussion and speculation. Some scholars propose intriguing alternatives and suggest it might have been an unusual, less recognized variety. Genesis, while not specific, paints the fruit with broad strokes. It's described as edible, visually appealing, and a symbol of enlightenment. These characteristics, embodying the allure of sin, are the core aspects we definitely understand about this mysterious fruit. Turning to the biblical texts, it's noted that God allowed Adam and Eve to eat from any tree producing seed-bearing fruits. This specification suggests that the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil might have been seedless, contrasting with apples which contain seeds. Throughout history, numerous scholars have suggested that the fruit in the biblical story might have been a fig. This theory stems from the fact that, in the Bible, after Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge and recognized their nakedness, they famously used fig leaves to cover themselves. This connection between the fruit and the leaves they chose for clothing has led to the speculation about the fig's possible role in the narrative. Advocates of the theory that places the Garden of Eden in the current Middle Eastern region often propose the pomegranate as the actual forbidden fruit. This fruit, native to the expanse from Iran to the Himalayas and cultivated since antiquity, holds deep symbolic meaning. Intriguingly, its link to the knowledge of the underworld in the ancient Greek myth of Persephone could parallel the biblical theme of forbidden knowledge. In the legend, Hades, the Greek god of the underworld, uses a pomegranate to bind Persephone to him. This mythological motif resonates with the biblical narrative, where the consumption of the forbidden fruit is tied to the onset of mortality, echoing the idea of an irreversible descent into a realm of hidden knowledge and consequences. The mushroom has also emerged as a potential candidate for the forbidden fruit, with advocates of this theory suggesting that sin proliferated globally, much like pervasive fungi upon its introduction. Moreover, a fascinating theory by some pioneering scholars suggests that the mind-altering properties of psilocybin mushrooms might have been catalysts in the monumental evolution of human consciousness. Given the diverse range of fruits that grow on trees, pinpointing the exact type of fruit from the Genesis account remains a matter of speculations and theological interpretations. However, the true essence of the story goes beyond identifying the fruit. It's about the fruit's role in expressing deep religious ideas. The forbidden fruit stands as a powerful symbol marking the beginning of sin and human weakness. It embodies the themes of temptation, breaking rules, and crossing the boundaries set by the divine, as exemplified in the actions of Adam and Eve. The central focus of the Genesis story lies not in the fruit itself, but in the divine command to abstain from it. God's sole instruction to Adam and Eve was this prohibition. The intrinsic nature or spiritual qualities of the fruit are secondary. The true transgression was the act of defying God's directive. By consuming the fruit, Adam and Eve didn't just taste its flesh. They imbibed the experiential knowledge of evil, contrasting sharply with their prior innocence. Their existing awareness of good was now marred by the newly acquired bitter understanding of disobedience, accompanied by feelings of guilt and shame. The deceit of Satan suggested that this knowledge would elevate them to a godlike status. Ironically, they were already created in God's image, enjoying his favor and goodness, a reality tragically overshadowed by their act of rebellion. The act of eating the forbidden fruit was a pivotal moment, fundamentally altering Adam and Eve's perception of themselves and the world around them, signaling the demise of their innocence. This crucial act set in motion a series of profound consequences, most notably their exile from the idyllic Eden. This expulsion symbolizes the deep rift created between God and humanity, a tragic schism that introduced mortality and suffering into the human condition. Their act of defiance marked humanity's descent from a blissful state of grace, severing the harmonious bond they once shared with the entirety of creation, and casting a long shadow over the human narrative. As foretold by God, death did indeed occur, but it was a spiritual death rather than a physical one. This spiritual demise resulted in a profound separation between God and humanity, a chasm created by the very nature of sin. The story of the Garden of Eden is about more than what it first seems. It raises a big question. Why did God put the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the garden? Was it to test Adam and Eve? Many religious scholars think it's about free will. God gave humans the choice to obey or not, knowing they might not listen. This wasn't just a test. It was about building a real relationship with people, one based on their own choice, not force. It's about a partnership chosen willingly. The tree symbolized the decision to either adhere to God's commandments or seek independent moral judgment. If Adam and Eve didn't have a choice, they would have been like robots, just doing what they were told without thinking. God's intention was to craft them as beings of freedom, capable of decision-making and discerning between good and evil. This capacity for choice was fundamental to their true freedom. Without it, their autonomy would have been non-existent. Choosing not to eat from the tree was more than just obeying God for Adam and Eve. It was about being content. By not eating, they showed they were happy with the life God gave them and didn't need anything else. But deciding to eat the fruit was different. It wasn't just about disobeying God, it was about wanting more than what he provided. It meant that living with God wasn't enough for them. They wanted to be in charge of their own lives, to know everything God knew. So they gave in to their desires, not thinking about the consequences that would follow. However, some scholars argue that Eve's action was more due to innocence and a lack of experience, similar to the behavior of children, rather than an intentional defiance of God. Adam and Eve's choice to eat the forbidden fruit didn't change who God is, or how he feels about us. God knew they would make mistakes even before he created them, but he still made them out of love. He also planned a way for everyone to be saved from sin through Jesus Christ. The Bible, in Romans chapter 5, verse 19, explains it this way: "For as by the one man's disobedience the many were made sinners, so by the one man's obedience the many will be made righteous." Jesus is often called the second Adam. He is both fully God and became fully human. Adam exemplified disobedience by consuming fruit from the prohibited tree, whereas Jesus embodied obedience by submitting to crucifixion on Calvary's tree, thereby atoning for Adam's transgression. Through Jesus' death, he bore the heavy burden of our transgressions, offering redemption and hope. Yet the story doesn't end in despair. He triumphed over sin and death, resurrecting to offer eternal life. This miraculous act ensures that anyone who places their faith in him is not only liberated from the consequences of their sins, but also embraced into everlasting life. His love and sacrifice invite us into a relationship of forgiveness and profound peace, transforming lives and destinies forever. What are your thoughts about this? I hope you like our story. Until the next one.